All right, this is video number 2 for the Botanical Buzz album that I'm making. It's that it's 8.5 by 8.5, but the pages are 8 by 8. Video number 1 had the cover, the hinge, and the inside, front, and back cover. So I'm going to now start with the elements for each of the 4 pages. So on the front of page 1, you are going to need one that is a piece of paper that's 8 by 7, one that is 3.5 by 9, 2 that are 4 by 5.5, and then 2 that are 1.5 by, I don't quite yet know how long, and it depends if I do a punch border. So I know they're going to be 1.5. I don't know if they're going to be 7 inches long, 6.5. I don't know. So I just know right now they're 1.5 inches wide. So we'll come back to that one. So this is for the front. So hopefully you can see that. And then on the back of page 1, you'll need 2 that are 5 by 4, 1 that is 8 by 4.5, and 1 that is 4 by 4. Now these 2 that are 5 by 4, these are going to become pockets. So you're going to want to later go back and add some tags, and so you can look at your scrap papers and see what you have. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on our scoring. So we're going to do the front of page 1 first. And so I'll start with my 8 by 7. Okay. So our book is 8 inches wide and 7 inches. Yeah, so I want 8. So we want the 7 inches across the top, and we're going to score at 1/2. Okay, that was on the 7-inch side. The 2 pieces that were 4 by 5.5, we're going to score on the 5.5 inch side at 1/2 on both of those. So 5.5 inches across the top, score at 1/2. The 3.5 by 9 is going to be a pocket, so we're going to start with it with the 9 inches across the top, and we'll score on 3 sides at 1/2. So 1/2, rotate it once, I'm going to do another 1/2, and I'll rotate it one more time, and I'm going to do a 1/2. So that was the 3.5 by 9 piece. And then again, the 1.5 inch pieces, we're going to wait for a second. So we might as well do the scoring for the back pieces also while we're at it. The 2 that are 5 by 4.5, these are going to also be pockets. So we're going to start with the 5 inches across the top, score on 3 sides at 1/2. So 1/2. Now on the 4-inch side at 1/2, rotate it back to the 5-inch side at 1/2. We'll do that to both of them. Again, you start with the 5 inches though. I'm going to rotate it once. I think it's just easier. I could have said just score at 1/2 and 4.5. Either way, it's the same thing. Or just rotate it a couple times. The 4 by 4, we're going to slice in half. The 8 by 4.5, place the 4.5 inches across the top and score at 1/2. Okay. The 4 by 4 piece, let's cut it on the diagonal, excuse me, so that we have 2 triangles. Okay, and now we're going to, these are going to be scored at 1/2 on each side. So 1/2 here, and then I'll rotate it and do 1/2 on the other side. Okay. Now I'm going to be using these like this, so I'm going to move this one over here, and I'm going to score at 11.5 just to make sure I've got it lined up the way I want it. Rotate it once, 11.5. Okay, so that's our scoring. We're going to have the page 1. Remember, it's opening to the left when we get started. Actually, let's do our prep work. So let's get our scissors and take the pocket that was 3.5 by 9, and to make our pocket we miter the top 1/2 inch pieces. We take out the square at the bottom at an angle. Then we burnish all of the sides. Okay. Now these two pieces that were, let me put this over, excuse me, by 4 by 5.5, we're going to actually glue these 2 1/2 inch pieces together, like so. So I am going to burnish them still. Okay, and then I'm going to glue those two together. So you'll notice that I have them flat, so I have the 1/2 inch coming out on both. I'm just going to put glue on one side of the 1/2 inch, and I'm going to put those together. Okay, and we're going to burnish our larger piece. It's going to be a flap. We are going to miter the 1/2 inch, oopsie, on each end or on each side. Oh, my glue. And then you can decide, do you want to corner around this flap? Do you want to do a decorative border punch? What do you want to do? I think that I am going to use one of my punches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. That's how I don't know how long my 1.5 inch pieces are, because I needed to see how much this is going to take off by doing the punch. So on the end opposite of the 1/2 inch, we're going to go ahead and start punching this all the way across. Gotta line it up correctly. And one more time. So there's one end. Now I gotta do the other. Try and not get my big old head in there. And I'm gonna move this so I can see it better. It's facing me. And the last one. Oh, that was not the last one. I gotta do it one more time. There we go. Okay, let's get rid of this mess. So then I am going to put two. Do I want one belly band or do I want two? I want two. So I need to measure then to know how long my 1.5 inch pieces are. We're going to go to the end here. So it's 6 inches long, so I'm going to need them to be 7 inches long because they are going to be scored on each end. So let me put these to 7 inches. Okay, and then we will score those on each end at a 1/2. Like so. Both of them get the same, half on each end with the 7 inches across the top. Now we don't have to miter these because they're not going to be at the end of a page. They're going to be in the middle, so that won't be a problem. And I do want to make sure that I put them equally apart. So I have to decide how far over I want to go. So let me kind of eyeball that and see what we've got here. So that is about 1 3/4. Okay, yep, we're gonna go 1 3/4 from each end. So what I'm going to do is measure 1 3/4 so I know where to put the end of that strip to line it up correctly. So there's 1 3/4 and 1 3/4. So then I will place one at the bottom and I'll glue the other one at the top. Okay. So let's get that lined up. And give it a burnish so it stays on. And now the other one, I'm going to turn this way just so it's easier for me to see. Like so. Okay. All right, so that is ready. Now we're going to take our pocket and the 2 pieces that we glued together, and we're going to glue that 1/2 inch to the inside of the pocket so that we can have a flap and have some pictures there. So let's put glue on one side of the 1/2 inch. And you can decide where you want it. I'm going to put mine more toward the end, almost to the score. So you might want to bend it to see if it's in the right spot, and it is. Okay. So now in our book, it'll look like this, but then we can fold it down and have an additional picture. I'm also going to burnish it one more time. Okay. Let's get our page, again, open to the left, and we're going to glue our pocket onto the bottom. So glue on all of the 3 sides. So this is a little bit heavier on this end. Make sure you got enough glue. Okay. What did I do wrong here? Did I? Oh my gosh, I glued it on the wrong part. Hold on, that does not get glued there. What was I thinking? I'm just gonna glue the pocket down first. Sorry, you guys. I got turned around, I think. So let's put this down first, and then we can go back and glue that on the right way. keep looking at it like, this does not look right. It's not doing what it's supposed to be. Okay, sorry. Make sure it's down real well. Now we're gonna put the glue back on and put it here. Okay. I need to wipe off the excess glue. Okay, so I had to wipe off the glue. Now I'm going to put glue on the inside and tuck it there. My mistake. One of many. Okay, now to the edge here. I'm going to fold it over to make sure it's lined up correctly. Okay. Now when I have this down, to me it's just a hair too long on the top, so I'm going to trim that just a smidge. Just a smidge. There we go. Now it goes to the top at the right height. So let's fold that down so we can put our pocket so that this will stay up, and then the pocket's going to kind of help it stay in place. So I'm going to turn this upside down. I'm going to get this out of the way, and I'm going to glue my top flap on. Goes all the way to the top. And make sure side to side it's lined up. And then you can open and burnish. Now if you want, you can add something in here. I think I'm just going to decorate with the paper. I don't think I'll add any pockets or flaps or anything like that. So then this will go up like so. Okay. On the opposite side, now our page opens to the right. We are going to start with the two triangle pieces, and we're going to burnish those on the score marks, and we're going to cut off that excess that's hanging out there when we fold it, and we got to cut off the square in the corner. All right, so square comes off at an angle, and see when I fold that I've got this excess, so I want to trim that off. When I fold this over, I have that excess, so I want to trim that off. Cut out the square in the corner at an angle, cut off the excess here and here. So these will go down here. So bottom left-hand corner and the bottom right-hand corner, like that. One on each side. Wipe off any glue that might seep out. My hands are super filthy from that glue. And repeat on the other end. bottom left. The large piece that we scored at 1/2, this is the 8 by 4.5. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that. I am going to miter the 2 ends. And then you can decide if you want a decorative punch on the bottom of this one. We did do it on the bottom of this one, so if you want to be consistent, you can. I'm going to leave mine the way it is, but I will corner round with the 10, I'll do the 7mm side of this. So we are going to be placing a pocket on the end, so we will have to corner round one of our corners on this too. Let's go ahead and prep our 2 pockets. Same way as we did the one on the other side. Take out the squares on the bottom at an angle, miter at the top on both of them. Those scraps. So again, I'm not going to give you the measurements for a tag. You'll just want to go through your scraps and see what you have and just use those to make tags to put inside the pockets. All right, so one I'm going to put on the flap. I'm going to put this one on the right-hand side. So I am going to try and corner around this with the 7. I hope it's not too thick that I can't do it. Piece of cake. Okay, so now we're going to glue this down on the right hand side. I'm going to turn it sideways so it's easier for me to see. Line it up. So this is now 4 inches, and this is a 4-inch pocket. So we're going to end up putting this here, and this will butt right up against it. So I want to make sure that it's going to fit the right way, and mine does. So I'm going to go ahead and put the top pocket on first. So I am gluing this on the upper left, the pocket by itself without the flap. Turn it sideways so I can see that I'm going all the way to the top. And now we will butt this right up against that. And mine actually turned out perfect, so hopefully yours did too. So I'm putting glue on my 1/2 inch, then I'll attach it to cover those 2 corner pieces so that can hold like pictures. The angled pockets can. Looks pretty good. And then you might want to lift that up and give it a burnish. And it should stay down with the weight of what we decorate with, but if you want, you could add a string or something to tie it at the bottom. I'm not going to, but if that is something you want to do, that would work also. So that is the front and back of page 1. We're going to move on to page 2. Okay, before I move on to page 2, I do want to show you something that hopefully you won't make the same mistake I did. When I did this top flap, I did not do a little gusset. And so once I started putting paper on the inside on those flaps, it got a little bit too full. So I had to cut my my flaps down right here. So if I were you, even if you've already glued it on, if you haven't papered it, I would go back and add another, maybe 1/8 of an inch or even 1/4 of an inch gusset. So the pocket, the cover wouldn't be as long, but then you'd have some thickness. So when I did this, it was kind of sitting like this because these were now too tall because there was no gusset. So the top one was fine, but I had to go trim the second one. So you can trim both of these to be shorter, or you can add a gusset on your flap, okay? So that's what I did for to fix the problem. Hopefully you won't have that problem. And so, yeah, that is how I decorated the front page, like so. And on the back, I haven't finished, but I'll put some tags in here and we'll move on from there. Okay. So let's go to page 2, and here are the sizes you're going to need. You're going to need a 4x8, a 6x9, and a 4x5. One of each. And this is going to be for the front. So I'm going to get my page. So again, 4x8, 6x9, and 3 4x5. Okay, now I've pre-scored, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the scoring even though I've already done mine. So the largest piece, the one that measures 9x6, this is going to be a pocket. So we're going to score on 3 sides. Put your 9 inches across the top. You're going to score at 1/2 on each end. So 1/2 and 8.5, and then turn it so that you have the 6 inches across the top and score at 1/2. That will be a pocket. We're going to have a flap. That's what the 4x8 piece is. So put the 4 inches across the top, score at 1/2. And then all of the 3 pieces that are 4x5, you're going to place the 5 inches across the top, and you're going to score it in half at 2.5 on all 3. Okay. You might as well cut the back of page 2 while you're at it. So you're going to need 4 that are 3 1/8 by 6. 4 that are 3 1/8 by 6. And all 4 of them get the same scoring. You'll put the 6 inches across the top, and you are going to score those at 1/2. So let's start putting together the front of page 2. I'm going to prep the flap by burnishing it, and then I am going to miter on the 1/2 inch. So a little slice here and a little slice there. On the pocket, I'm going to cut out the squares in the corner at an angle. And I'm going to miter the top 1/2 inch. Oopsie. And then all of the 4x5s get folded in half on that score mark. Okay, so I just have to prep my pocket. Now I'm probably going to do a little thumb hole, but I won't do that until I put the pattern paper on. That way it's easier Usually if I do the thumb hole on the cardstock and then go back and try and make it line up with the pattern paper, I can't get it to line up just right. So I will just wait until I put the pattern paper on, and then I'll either use a circle punch to do the half, you know, the little rounded cut, or I will use my punch board. Okay, so the page, it is open. Remember, this is the front, so it opens from the left to the right. And the pocket is actually going to go on the right-hand side, and the flap will go on the left-hand side, okay? I'm going to wait until I put pattern paper on and do my thumb hole before I attach it. So let me move on to this flap. So I'm going to have these cards coming off the side. I just have to measure. I want to see how far over I want them. And I'm going to evenly place them on, spread them out on this paper. So I think I want them to hang over a little bit more. So let's see what that is. See? So I'm going to move them over an inch, and that gives me about 1 3/4 inch overhang. All right, so I'm going to put the top and the bottom on first. I'm just going to use my scoreboard as a way to measure. And I'm going to do a dry fit real quick just to make sure I know top and bottom how much space I need. I could do the math, but I'm not feeling it right now. Yeah, okay, about 1/8 of an inch. All right, so now you can put pattern paper on here first also, because when you turn this over, you will see the back. I might go back and just glue scraps on when I'm done. So I'm not going to do that right now. So I will go up 1/8 of an inch, and I will go over 1 inch. So I'm just going to glue one section. You don't want to put glue on the whole thing, because we're not gluing the whole thing down. So it's a little more than half. All right. Bump that up there, over 1 inch and up to 1/8. Give that a burnish, and then we're going to do the same thing at the top. You know what? I'm going to pattern paper this first. Sorry, I didn't even think about it. Ugh. I get in a hurry and then I don't want to have to try and paper around the edges. That would be a pain. So is this going to fit? No, of course not. Do I have any other scraps? I don't want to... Yeah, I need more than that. I might have to cut a fresh piece, unless I can paper this together. You know what? Maybe I'll do this because I don't want to waste. So I'm going to do... I'll paper this, and then I'll put this on top or slide this under. Yeah, they match well enough that that's what I'm going to do. So this is 8, so I need to cut these down to 7 7/8. Sorry about that. That's the second mistake I've made now. And it probably won't be the last, just saying. Okay. 7 7/8. Now I am inking, make sure they're the same height. I am inking my pattern paper. I wanted it to be, I used a green this time. Usually I use some sort of brown to make it look vintage or old. But this is actually peeled paint, and it seems to be working pretty well to match. So I'm going to go do this real quick. Glad I caught it at least before I glued all 3 down. That would not have been good. And I think I've said this in other videos, but if you're new to my channel, I design as I go. Like I don't get out a piece of paper and map it out and do the measurements. I sit and stare at the paper for a long time, probably longer than I should, and waste a lot of time. And so I just kind of make it up as I go. So every once in a while I do have a mistake, unfortunately. But usually there's a way to fix it, and sometimes that's a good lesson too. How do you fix your mistakes? You don't throw it away and start from scratch. That's a last resort. If you can salvage it in some way, that's what we do. All right. Looks about even. And now I will put this one on. Okay. I guess I could have done it like this. Nope, I like the contrast actually. So I try to use all my scraps also. Right now I have so many scraps for my cardstock that as I start doing pages 3 and 4, I really need to start looking at my scraps to say, okay, what can I do to make it interactive using the pieces that I already have cut so that I don't waste. All right, I'm happy with that. So let's try this again. Where's that one? Okay. So I can see where I need to glue because there is marks here. Maybe a little bit more than last time just because there's a lot of bumpiness. All right, so let's go back, and again we're going 1 inch over, and we're going to the 1/8 of an inch up. And then I will go back and put pattern paper here or white paper so I can journal. And I'll put paper on the top, and I'll go back and put a little piece of scrap paper. Like I have a bunch of scraps. So I could just cut a little bit of this, cut off a little bit of this. I'll just see what I have left over. Okay, so now I'm going to, I'm gonna move it. Can you see it if I move it down? Oh, I'll just do it up here. Okay, so we're still gonna go over 1 inch, but now we go down 1/8. And then we'll just center the middle one. And I'm just gonna eyeball that one. Okay. So over 1 inch. That look about right? I think so. Okay, and the last one I'll just center between the two. Alrighty, so let me line those up. Look at it. Close enough for me. Okay, and then we'll put pattern. Ooh, I don't like that. That one looks like it's over too far. I'm going to trim that a hair. Now they're all lined up. Okay, and then you'll put pattern paper here. So I'm going to go ahead and get my page, and I'm going to glue this to the left-hand side. So then we'll have a flap with a pocket under it. This will be the pocket. So it'll look like this, and then we can tuck things in the pocket. And it should stay down once I put the weight of the cardstock on here. But again, don't attach this. If you're gonna do a thumb hole, don't attach it unless you put your pattern paper on first and do the thumb hole. That's what I do anyway, and then I'll glue that down. So I'll do that off camera, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So when we attach our pages to the hinge, I don't take the page all the way down to the bottom. So it's okay to glue this all the way to the edge of our page. It won't get in the way of opening and closing. Okay, and then I'll go back into the pocket. Okay, on the back then, this one's super easy. I really liked the cut-aparts, and so I move that off to the side so I don't lose it. I really like the cut-aparts, and so I cut those out, and I thought, how can I use those so that they're this focal point and still get some flaps and stuff? So here's what I'm going to do. We've already scored them at 1/2, and I'll go back and burnish them here in a second. I'll do one right here. I might go and do a decorative punch at the bottom, but I'm also going to put some white paper at the bottom to journal. So if I do the white paper, I need to do my punching first and then go back and put my paper. Okay, so that's why they're 3 1/8 to fit the 3-inch cut-aparts. Now, I am not putting these all the way to the end of the pages, so I don't have to miter, but if you like to do that, you can. I think I'll just leave them the way they are. And maybe I'll just do one to show you what I'm talking about. I think I might punch them, because I have some punching on the other pages, and that would just kind of help blend it in. So here's what I would do. I try to center this as close as I can. Punch, and then I'm going to line it up and do the other ends. I need to be able to see. Okay, I think that's about right. Nope, there we go. And one more. Even though I centered it, the ends don't end up being exactly the same. So I have this one being completed. Maybe I'll chop that off. Let's see what that looks like. That's gonna work for me. I just don't like, maybe I'll put something down here, a button or something to kind of cover up that ending. So then I'm gonna put a cut apart on. My 3x4. And then I'll find the white paper. I have some scraps. And yuck, I don't like how that turned out. You know what I might do is I was sent, told you I design as I go, this lace. Do I want that done? No. That might help kind of hide the, you know what, maybe I will put just a little touch of lace behind there. You probably can't see it very well on the camera, but it kind of acts as a border. I kind of like that. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So I need to make this 3 1/8. And you'll have to measure how wide yours is. This piece is about 3/4 of an inch. Oh, I did 3 1/8. I'm supposed to. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and cut this at 3 1/8. I'll just eyeball it and lay it down. So, right there. And I'm going to do, is there a right and a wrong? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to put some glue in here. Doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to be laying that paper on top. And then I can go and trim off the excess here. And then I'm going to glue this on top of that. And that's just enough of a border to give it a little bit of interest. Okay, so that's what I'll be doing on those. And on this side, I'll probably just do a full piece of paper. Okay, so how are we going to attach those, you say? I will show you. These are just going to be flaps on the back of that page we started. So I will probably continue to pattern paper mine first. So turn this over. Now I'm going to have 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. So because of the way I attach this, this has to be at the top. When they're at the bottom, you're going to do it the other way around. So you would have the decorative part at the top and you have to turn your card upside down. So 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. So again, I just need to look to see how far over I want them. If I do 3/4 of an inch from this side and 3/4 of an inch from that side, that looks about right to me. So I will glue those down 3/4 of an inch over. So I'll do 1. And I'll use I turned it sideways, and I will use my board as a way to no 3 1/4. In between the 7 and the 7 1/2 mark is what I'm going to use. Okay. And where's my glue? It's all the way to the top. I said 3/4 over. So about right there. And then just kind of check here to make sure it's lined up. Okay. And then what's going to happen is we put one at the bottom, like so, and then they'll overlap each other. So I think I might put the white on the top here. I will, because I'll punch this side, I'll put the white, and then you'll see the other part, the other cut apart down below. And then it'll just flip up and you'll flip down. Okay, so you'll do the other 2 on this side, 3/4 of an inch over after you've put your pattern paper on and punched. Where's my other one? I should. And so they'll be like so. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back and where did I put the pockets? Let's go on to page 3, the front and the back. Page 3 is a belly band with like a pocket. So a 9 by 5, a 9 by 2.5, and an 8 by 3.5. That would be for the front. And on the back, we're just kind of doing a version of a side waterfall. So you'll need a 4 by 8, a 5 by 8, a 6 by 8, and a 7 by 8. Okay. So the front, I'm going to take the 3.5 by 8 piece is going to be a top flap, and so all you have to do is burnish on the half. The piece that's 2.5 by 9 is going to be a pocket. So oops, I already did this one. So you'll score at 1/2 on the 2.5-inch side. Place it along the top so the 9 inches is across the top. Score at 1/2 and at 8.5. This is a belly band, so the 9 inches across the top, a 1/2 on each end, so 1/2 and 8.5. I'm going to burnish these. Now again, this is in the middle of the page, so I don't need to miter the 1/2 inch, but you can if you want to. So we're going to build on top of that belly band. So I'm going to take out the square in the corner at an angle, and I will miter the top. And I am going to miter on the 3.5-inch piece that we scored at 1/2. I'm going to miter there on a 1/2. I'm going to go ahead and burnish. Now, if you want, you can do a border if you want. I'm afraid I don't want to do a border because I'm going to be putting cards and tucking them to keep the flap down. I use cutouts. So if I have a decorative border, it might end up being too weak and start tearing or messing up that decorative edge. So I will leave mine. I'll probably just corner round these two pieces at the end. And then my pocket. On this page then, page 3, it's opening. The opening is on the left-hand side. I'm going to build onto the belly band first, and then I'll put it on my paper. But you see, when you put these together, they're right on top of each other. So when you put cards in here, that will keep the flap down. I'm going to go ahead and corner around this now so I don't forget. I'm going to use the 7mm. All right, so let's put that together. I'll put the bottom on first, the pocket. All right. I have my 1/2-inch pieces of the belly band tucked under. And I'm going to line this up. Because sometimes when I add pictures to my albums, which is not always very often, but I do put some in there, I do like to have just some places to stick some leftover 4x6s, and so I'm a person who likes to add a lot of pockets, so I can just throw them in there without always having to do a whole lot with them. I'm turning it upside down so it's easier for me to see, and I'm doing the top. And side to side, you want to look carefully, and it goes all the way to the end here. And it looks Looks like it's lined up. So they should pretty much just meet, so that when you do put a cut apart in, it will keep that flap down for you. And now we're going to center it on our page. So our page is 8 inches long, and our belly band was what, 5? Was it 5? Yeah. So the halfway mark is 2.5 for this. So I'm going to put a little pencil mark that I can erase. So 2.5. It's right there. There's my halfway mark. And I'll use my board to find the 4-inch. So I'm going to line up the 2.5 with the 4. And I'm going to look just to make sure that looks about right, and it does. All right, so you just put glue then on your 1/2-inch side pieces. And here we go. Looks pretty good. And then when you decorate, if you want, you can add some sort of stopper down here, like with some ephemera, so that when you put something behind it, it won't fall all the way through. And I better erase now so I don't forget. All right, so that will be the front. You don't need a closure because we'll use our cut aparts. So there's that. Now on this next page, we are going to need a ribbon closure. So I have some ribbon from a previous retreat, and it's yellow, and it pretty much matched my seam binding perfectly. And we'll be putting a piece here on this end, and then we'll be putting a piece on the top of the flap. So I have them nearby so I don't forget. So this is the 4, 5, 6, and 7 by 8 pieces, and all of them get a 1/2 inch score with the shorter end at the top. And these we will miter the top and bottom because they do go to the top and the bottom of the page. So just score it 1/2 on all of them. So now my 5-inch piece, the 5 inches is across the top. 1/2. Now my 6-inch piece, 6 inches is across the top. And 7-inch piece, 1/2 inch. So if you want to now, go ahead and do your mitering and then burnishing, or burnish then miter, it doesn't matter. And we are going to stack these one on top of the other. And I will do that. You can put your pattern paper on before you attach it to your page or your book. I will have to wait so that I can get this done and show you. And like I said, I will come back and show you how I did the decorating. There's no way I can decorate on camera. It would take forever because I stare at it for so long and go back and change things. And it's a very long process for me. But I always do a walkthrough also, so you can take a look at the book first and see how I've decorated it. Decorating is kind of my favorite part though. And the cover used to be I hated it because I never knew what to do, but now it's my favorite part. But I think sometimes we all get into a little rut and we think all our stuff is looking all the same. Sometimes I feel like I decorate my covers very similar. All right, we're going to attach all of these together. We'll be putting a piece of ribbon here and a piece of ribbon here so that it can tie off to the side. So let's go ahead and start our gluing. I have the 1/2 inch down at the bottom toward me, and I'm going to now put the next smaller one on top of it. I just can see better when I'm gluing and it's closer to me rather than up top. Going all the way to the edge, and I'm looking to make sure it's lined up side to side too. And then we'll do the next one the same way, one on top of the other. So it does get a little bit thicker. And then our last one. So there is a little bit, when we glue it onto our page, you'll see that there's a little bit more space. These all have a 1 inch difference, but the page is 8 inches long. So I'll show you what I mean. I kind of wanted a little bit more space for the bow when we tie it closed. Okay. Real firm burnish. So when we attach it to the book, and our opening is now going to be on the right hand side, we're going to attach it to the left, and you can see these all are 1 inch difference, and this one is more than 1 inch, but I plan on tying the bow here, and so I wanted less bulk. So hopefully I can tie it so that it ends right here. So now we just need to attach this to the actual base of our book. I better make sure. Yeah. And I am going to put the ribbon on now, because if I don't, I will forget after I pattern it. So I'm going to put one piece here at 4 inches. I'll center it on the 4 inch, and I'll have it go over about 1 inch from the edge. So here's my 4 inch mark right here. So I'll put my glue. And then I'm going to go and put a little piece of score tape just to kind of make sure it stays down. Doesn't go anywhere. And I cut these about 15 inches long. That's going to be too long, but I just wanted to play it safe. And so this one I'm also going to center. Now I'm going to glue it though on this way so that it will come up and over to tie. If you're running, actually, maybe I will put it here. That might tie easier and I won't need as much. Yeah, I think I'm going to just put it right here on the flap instead of over here. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's put some glue at the 4 inch mark, and I'm just going to kind of flap this over so I can make sure that it lines up. So it's going to be about right there. And like so. And again, I will get some score tape just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And then you would tie it. And I'm going to try and get the bow about right here when I tie it. And I'll have to go back and trim these. They're going to be too long. Okay, so now we're going to move on to page 4. Okay, before I move on to page 4, let me show you page 2 and 3 decorated. So this is the front of page 2. So I have added just a little bit of lace here and then put paper on top of it. And then I have some flat back pearls. This is from the laser cut die pieces. And then all of them, I just put white on the inside for all of them for journaling or for pictures. Okay. And then when you lift this over, I added paper behind so that it didn't look plain. Added just a photo mat here. And you got to keep this flat so that your page folds nicely. And then I just added an insert, and I used one of the branding strips that has these little tabs. I love them. And then a little picture here, and I left it open. Okay. And then that just slides right in there. So that's the front. And then on the back, oopsie, I just, again, I added a little bit of the lace and then put white paper on so that I could do some journaling and just tied little bows. These go up, and I just added a little bit of those flowers there. And on the bottom, I don't know if you can see that far down, did the same, just added a flower on one side. And then these I just layered because I didn't want to waste the paper. And so I could go back and maybe add a white photo mat. But I'm hoping that this stays closed because the book, I would think it would stay closed because they're not going to be flopping it around. But if it doesn't, I can always add another ribbon or something, or even a paper clip. Do I have any paper clips here? I have some pretty gold ones. I was just going to show you. I mean, you could just slide a paper clip there to keep it closed. So that is page, 2? And then page 3. So here's how I decorated that one. Put a little flower in the corner. Put one of the chipboard pieces that says "Love deeply, live fully." Added another one of those little tabs from the branding strip with the little flower here. Little flower. This was with that shiny Tonic Studios paper. And again, you can see a row of lace with a paper branding strip in the center. And then to keep it closed, you just put these cards in, and it will keep your pocket closed. And then it is a belly band, so I'm going to stick something down, some paper in the center too. I just haven't got that far. I want to wait until I see how much paper I have to decorate with. And then on the back, I'm just happy how this one turned out. These little tags, this one I popped up on foam squares. This just was, I liked the layering, and I did leave it open so I could tuck a little tag there. There's that cute little bee. And then on each page then, I added white on the back and just a little bit of something down to add some color. This one I left totally alone. Just a strip here. This one I used some of the laser cut images and then layered some paper for a picture. On this white page, just add 2 photo mats with the tags. Left this page plain. This is just a cut apart that I matted, and this is loose, okay? And then the last page, just added a photo mat. Added the branding strips and then some of the laser cut things. Okay, so that's that. And let's see if I can tie this. I do like it with the bow off to the side here, and I am not a good bow tire, so let's see if I can do this without having to do it twice. Here we go. Maybe I just need to do it faster. Maybe I just think it over too much. I don't know. Yeah, that's not a very good one, but I'll work with that one. Ugh. I'll work with it later and fix it. I don't like that one. Okay, anyway, I wanted to show you what those look like decorated. So now all we have is one last page. So page 4, front and back. We'll start with the front. So our base page will open on the left-hand side. And here are the papers that you need to cut for the front. 4 that are 4.5 by 4 and 2 that are 4 by 4. That's for the front. And then on the back, you're going to need 9.5 by 5.5, just one, and one that's 10 5/8 by 3. So let's do all of our scoring first. So with all of the 4.5 by 4s, you're going to place the 4.5 inches across the top, and you're going to score at 1/2 on all of them. Okay, so 4.5 goes on the top, across the top, and you score at 1/2 on all 4. On the 4 by 4s, there's 2 of them. What you're going to do is place obviously 4 inches across the top, but you're scoring at 1/2 on all 4 sides. On all 4. So just keep rotating it. And I usually do it twice just to make sure there's a good impression. Okay, and I'll show you how we're going to cut that in a minute. And let's take for the back, we have that piece that's 9.5 by 5.5. And we're going to do 2 scores on one end, and then we'll just turn it around and do the same 2 on the other end. It's just a little bit easier. So all we have to do is score at 1/2. And then the second score mark is at 2 5/8. And I'm just going to rotate that and do it again. So 1/2, and then 2 5/8. Oops. And the piece that is 3 by 10 5/8, we are going to score at 2 1/8, and then 4 1/4. And I'm just going to rotate it and do the same on the other end. So it was 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. So you should have 5 panels then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So that's the scoring. So let's do the front prep first. So we are going to burnish our 4.5 by 4 pieces. And I am going to miter. I really only need to miter the top, but I'll just do both sides. The top and the bottom. Okay, and then for the one that we did 1/2 on all 4 sides, we're going to put that in our cutter in the shape like the diamond, and we're going to line up the 2 opposite corners on our cutting on the cut side here to slice it in half. You'll do that to both of them also. So for this one, they're going to be angled pockets so that we can put a some sort of mat to keep the doors or the flaps closed. And so with our scissors, we are going to, at the top of this triangle, I'm going to angle cut up toward the top. And I'm going to cut out the square in the corner at a diagonal. And then this corner piece down here, I'm going to take off on that 1/2 inch. I'm going to angle it up toward that corner pocket, or that corner, opposite corner of the top here. So they look like 2 tabs. And I'm going to do that for both sides. So take out the square in the corner at an angle. You're going to cut off part of your 1/2 inch at an angle. And you're going to do the same to the other side. Cut it at an angle so you have 2 tabs. Now I do want to do a dry fit because our page is 8 inches, so I have to make sure that my cutting is exactly right because I don't want anything to hang over. So before I do any cutting on the 1/2 inch, I just want to make sure that I can put both 1/2 inches. Okay, yeah, that works. And then I want to come over here. Yeah, it looks like That's a pretty good, yep, that'll work. Okay, so let's, because it is cut just right, let's go ahead and miter. Just a quick snip and a quick snip. I'm doing that on all four. And clean up our little mess here. All right, so we need 2 with the 1/2 inch pieces on the right and 2 when they're on the left, because we're going to put our angled pockets on the corners. Okay, so I'll move these up until I'm done burnishing this one. So I'm just folding those on those score marks. And we're going to end up adhering that to the bottom left, and then over here we'll do it to the bottom right. Okay, so let's make sure we get all those burnished. Double check. Oopsie, now I have some overhang here, so I didn't cut it enough. So I'm going to just take my scissors and snip that. There we go. So there's one set. And the second one. Again, double check that you don't have any overhang of your paper. I do here. Okay, so the next part's easy. We're just going to glue so that it lines up with the side and the bottom. So this is the door that's going to be on the right hand side. So this goes on the bottom right, on the side where the 1/2 inch is. And my 1/2 inch is folded to the back. And so I'm out of magnets right now, so I had to think of something that I could do without magnets for a closure. So I've used ribbon on some of it. Now this one has the 1/2 inch on the left, so we're going to put it on the bottom left. Ribbon, using the cut-aparts to help things close. This one will just have a mat that we're going to put in there to keep it closed. That one slid a little bit. Okay, and then let's finish up the other 2. Bottom left. And bottom right. Now, if you want, you can put your pattern paper on before you put it onto your page. It's up to you. I almost put it on the wrong side. Okay. And give it a good burnish. So I will go ahead and adhere mine. So I need to do, I'm going to turn my paper, now it's open to the top, just because it's easier if I bring it closer to me so I can see. And I'm going to go all the way to the edges, all the way, side and side. Okay, so there's one flap. 3 to go. Go all the way to the top here, and it should bump up against the one we just laid down. And mine is just, it lined up exactly right. That usually doesn't happen. I usually have to go back and do some trimming, so that is a nice surprise. Okay, now I have it open to the bottom, and I'll put the other two. All the way to the edge. Like so. And the last one. Bump it up against the one on top. Okay, so I'll probably end up in the inside making maybe like a little scrapbook page for here. So I'm going to close these, and then the idea, let's see if I have some scrap paper. So this isn't 8 inches, but then you would just slide this like so to keep the flap closed. So we'll decorate that. Okay, so I'm just going to use my scraps. This one was only 6 inches. I'd probably make it at least 7, even 7.5. Okay, and I probably would go 3.5 tall. That's what I probably will do. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over. And now on the back, I'm basically putting a card on the back, and I'm only going to glue it down on 3 sides so it can also become a pocket. So we did the scoring. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish my score marks. Obviously, the larger piece is the base of the card. Okay, and then I'm going to do the 1/2 inch. We are going to do some cutting on that 1/2 inch to make a tab. Okay, so I'm going to slice. I'm going to take my cutter and I'm going to cut down 1.5 inches and cut up 1.5 inches and cut out those 2 corners so that I have a tab in the center. And I will do that to both. I'm going to use this cutter. I think it'll be easier. So I'm going to put the 1/2 inch in the cutting channel. Actually, I'm going to turn it this way. That looks about right. Okay, so if it's 5 inches, I want to go up to 3.5. I hope that was 1.5. That is kind of long. Let's see, 1.5 and 1. Yeah, I guess that's right. And then let's do the other one, down 1.5. Oh, I wonder if I went to 2.5. I did. I went longer than 1.5. I wonder if I'll have any problems if I leave it like that. I'll have to think about that. So let's do this side and let's do this side right. I thought it looked awfully long. So 1.5 is what we're shooting for. 1.5 down, 1.5 up. I think it'll still be fine, actually. And 1.5 again. So now let's snip that 1.5 inch piece off on each corner. So there's our tab. So this one is correct, it's 1.5. And I think I'm going to, I might add a little piece of tape. Do I have any clear tape down here? Ooh, I don't think I do. Yes, I do. I'm gonna cut it, I'm gonna tape it. I must have gone to 2.5. Is that about right? Yeah, let me get a little piece of tape. And I'm just gonna place that right here and it should be fine. And then I'll just have to make sure I burnish it again. When we use the base, these little tabs are going to face in, okay? And let's make sure it's lined up good. Okay, so let's move that to the side, and we're going to burnish the score marks on the 3-inch wide piece. And I'm gonna fold them, burnish on each side. So that it's flexible. This one I need to adjust a hair. I want it to make sure it's lining up on both sides. Okay, so the tricky part is you want this middle piece and you're going to fold this in and then over, I believe. Let's see, is that right? So we're going to glue this in the center, but we need to put our pattern paper on first. So let me go ahead and get my pattern paper ready, and then I will show you how to put that one together. All right, so I already put the paper on. So I just put the paper on one side for this one. And then for this one, you can put the paper on the inside and the 2 flaps on the outside. This will be attached to the base, so you don't need to worry about it. So we are going to put glue here, and we're going to glue it in the center of the base. So you have to put your pattern paper on first, and we're going to try and center it as well as we can. So we're putting glue on that center rectangle. That's the one that gets attached. Okay. And just, I'm going to eyeball it. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm just going to push it down and give it a second to dry. And then what's going to happen is we're going to put this in, and we're going to attach it to this little tab. So the adhesive goes here on the inside. But then we fold it out. So we're going to attach it to our first rectangle. So we pull that in, and lay that down. And where's my, there it is. Okay, and then this one will get attached to this, and again we'll pull it back and attach it like so. I don't want it to go anywhere, so like so. And then this goes inside of this. So it is kind of floppy, so I do have, I'm gonna have to put something here, that's too boring. And then we're going to attach the ribbon to the back. And then you're going to take your page and adhere it. And I'm gonna leave, I think this open, I was gonna leave this side, yeah, maybe I will leave this side open instead, so that I can tuck something underneath and have it coming out. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna glue this to the back, and then I'll glue it down on 3 sides, and then leave this side open to tuck something. Okay, and then that's it. The only thing I need to show you is how to attach the pages to the book. This is what I ended up doing on the other side. So here are the cards to keep the doors shut. I left it plain on the back. Same, plain. And then I just used some of the tickets, 2 little pearls, and then this is from the paper. Actually, I just cut those out. And when you open it, I just wanted a 5 by 7, and then these are little pockets just to stick a picture in. Okay, so then to keep that closed, you just stick these bad boys right back in there. So these are 7.5 inches long by 3.5 tall. All right, so then on the other side, we'll just have this. All right, I will be back to show you the attaching them to the spine or the hinge. Okay, the very last thing I need to show you, if you're not familiar with putting together an album, is how to attach the books to the hinge or the pages to the hinge. You do not want to put your page all the way down to the bottom of the hinge. You want to leave about 1/8 of an inch. So with this page, you're going to place it here, and you don't want to go all the way to the end. So I'm looking at the bottom, and you want to make sure that it's straight. Okay. And then you place glue right here on this side of the hinge, and then you're going to press it down and hold it for a while. And then you're going to put glue on the top of the hinge and along the bottom, fold that over, and then you're going to want to pinch that for a while or put some clothespins on it or something. Okay, so that's all you do for the hinge. And then I have a walkthrough of the finished book if you haven't seen it. I always work from the back, by the way, if I didn't say this, from the back to the front of the book when I'm putting my pages in. So that's it. And if you like it, go ahead and make it and put your project up on Scrapbookers of Facebook, on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations on Facebook. And I would love for you to tag me so I can see what you've made. All right. Thank you, everybody. I love this, how it turned out, and I love this paper. So this was 49 & Market Botanical Buzz. All right. Thank you, everybody.